I said I'd pay the bill for my brother's rehearsal dinner, $3,000, no issue. But when I arrived, he gestured at a bar stool and said, "You can sit there, our real family is at the main table." I ate quietly. When the server brought the bill, I stood up, smiled, and said, "Actually, good luck with that." Then I walked out. I never thought a single bar stool could shatter my entire world. But that night, it ripped through whatever thin illusion of family I had left, and there was no turning back. The air in that Italian restaurant felt heavy, thick with the scent of garlic and simmering resentment I hadn't realized was mine to carry. My name's Ethan, and I'm 34. For years, I tried to keep the peace, especially with my younger brother, Leo. We weren't enemies growing up, just typical brothers. He broke my Game Boy, I deleted his save files, normal kid stuff. But the real gap, the chasm, opened after college. I worked my way through state university, hustling with scholarships and part-time jobs. Leo, the golden boy, got a full ride to a private school out east, no strings attached. "We believe in his potential," my parents would say. A quiet bitterness settled in my chest, but I never voiced it. What was the point? After graduation, I built an IT consulting business from scratch. There were months I could barely pay rent. Meanwhile, Leo landed a job straight out of school at a flashy marketing firm, courtesy of my dad's golf buddies. 6 months in, he was posting Instagram photos from ski resorts with captions like, "Work hard, play harder." I just let him have his fun. My parents always brushed me aside, shining the spotlight on him. I was independent, the one who never needed much. Leo, on the other hand, was sensitive, creative, the dreamer. So, when he needed money for rent after blowing a paycheck in Vegas, Mom wired it over without hesitation. When I asked for a small loan for my business taxes, I got a lecture on financial responsibility. Still, I kept the peace. It mattered more than I let on. I showed up to every family dinner, every birthday, every holiday. I smiled. I asked Leo about his work, even though he never asked about mine. I bought thoughtful gifts, he often showed up empty-handed. I helped Dad move his tools for 4 hours one summer. Leo showed up after everything was done, snapped a few selfies, and posted them like he'd done the heavy lifting. When Leo announced his engagement to Chloe, a polished, Pinterest-perfect PR consultant with a laugh like wind chimes, I genuinely wanted to be happy for him. I even offered to help. Maybe this was a fresh start. So, when Leo called, asking if I'd cover the rehearsal dinner as my contribution, I didn't hesitate. "Just send me the details," I said. It was an expensive rustic Italian place in the city, one of Chloe's favorites. $1,300 wasn't pocket change, but my business had done well. It was family. It was Leo. Weeks passed without a word, no updates, no thank you. I assumed I'd get an invite. Instead, 2 days before the event, an email arrived, "Rehearsal dinner final headcount." It was forwarded from Chloe's assistant, no message from Leo. The guest list was long, Chloe had invited half her firm. My name was tucked at the bottom under miscellaneous/extended family. I brushed it off. Formatting, right? Then came the night itself. I arrived early, in a navy blazer, presentable. The restaurant was stunning, exposed brick, flickering candlelight, soft jazz. The hostess led me to the private dining area. A long, elegantly set table stretched across the room. And there, near the front, sat my parents, Leo, Chloe, and her family, already laughing. It felt like walking into a scene I didn't belong in. I scanned for my name. Nothing. I spotted Leo near the bar. "Hey, man, place looks great," I said, giving him a quick, one-armed hug. He looked me up and down. "Yeah." Chloe really wanted something classy. I nodded, waiting for some acknowledgement. "Thanks for covering it. Glad you're here." Something. Instead, he just sipped his drink and motioned with his chin. "Your seat's over there." I turned. A bar stool near the wall, a small cocktail table with a single setting. No centerpiece, no name card, just isolation. Is there a reason I'm not at the table? I asked. Leo raised an eyebrow, like I just asked if the sky was blue. It's just, Chloe's family is sitting with us. Real family. We had to make room for her uncles and the wedding planner's assistant. He trailed off, as if that explained everything. Real family. The words echoed in my chest like a slap. I looked at my parents across the room. Neither of them looked up, not even a wave. I don't know how long I stood there, but eventually, I sat on the bar stool. I watched the toasts, watched the waiter pour champagne for everyone else and skip me. I listened to Chloe's father speak about how blessed we are to have everyone here, and I chewed my chicken piccata in silence. Hurt, embarrassed, angry. Mostly, just hollow. Then dessert came. Tiramisu slices were passed around, applause for the couple. Just as I thought it was over, the waiter approached. Hi there. Are you the one handling the check for the group tonight? I looked up. Something inside me shifted. I didn't speak immediately. The waiter stood, pen poised, smiling politely. I looked back at the long table where my brother and his fiancée laughed. My parents were deep in conversation with Chloe's aunt. No one looked my way. And suddenly, the air around me felt different, colder, thinner, like I wasn't part of this room at all. I looked back at the waiter, gave a polite nod. Yeah, I'll take care of it. He smiled and walked off. A quiet storm gathered in my chest. Not anger, not yet. Something deeper, heavier. I sat there, listening to the faint clink of glasses, watching my reflection shimmer in the polished marble bar. A question started forming: why do I keep showing up for people who never show up for me? I sat through the rest of that dinner like a ghost, silent, invisible. I picked at the tiramisu, watched the speeches. Leo gave a long-winded toast about love and family being the anchor. I snorted quietly into my glass. No one noticed. The next morning, I woke up with a hollow chest and a splitting headache. Not from alcohol, but a mental hangover. The kind you get after too much time around people who make you feel small. I paced my apartment, scrolling through messages that weren't there. No thank you. No check-in. Nothing. That afternoon, a message from Chloe. Not a thank you, but a reminder to confirm the final payment for the rehearsal dinner. Chipper, professional, like I was a caterer. No mention of the bar stool. I stared at it, typed a response, deleted it. Eventually, I closed the app and went for a walk. But space didn't help. Because 2 days later, I had to show up to the wedding rehearsal. I was a groomsman. Spineless, pathetic, I know. But it's hard to walk away when you've spent your life convincing yourself that if you just try harder, maybe they'll finally see you. The rehearsal was at a beautiful glass chapel overlooking a lake. Crisp white chairs, floating candles, tulips arranged like a magazine cover. None of it felt real. I kept thinking about that bar stool, about Leo not flinching, about my parents not blinking. During the walkthrough, Chloe handed out gift bags to her bridesmaids, custom robes, jewelry, monogram tumblers. Leo handed out matching cufflinks to the groomsmen. Except he didn't give me a set. He didn't even look my way. I was second in line, watching him hand out those velvet boxes. When he was done, he looked up and said, "Oh. Sorry, man. I only ordered 5. Didn't know you were confirmed." Confirmed? Like I was a name on a spreadsheet. Like I wasn't the guy who paid for dinner 2 nights ago. Like I wasn't his brother. What was I supposed to say? Hey, remember me? The one who raised your goldfish? The one who bought you an Xbox because mom couldn't afford one, then magically bought you a car 3 weeks later? No. I stayed quiet. After rehearsal, we gathered at Chloe's parents' massive house. I found a corner near the fire pit. My dad wandered over. "You all right?" he asked. I shrugged. "Sure." He leaned in. I know things have been a little tense. Leo's got a lot on his plate. Chloe's family is intense, but it's his big day. Just try to go with the flow, all right? Go with the flow. That phrase rattled in my skull like a loose screw. 3 decades of going with the flow got me a bar stool and no cufflinks. Now a lecture about how hard it must be for Leo. Sure, Dad. I'm good. He patted my knee and walked off. That night, I sat in the dark. I thought about my childhood, about watching Leo blow out bigger birthday cakes, about my second place in the state science fair when Mom said, "That's great, but Leo's art piece is going to be displayed at the district meeting." They always framed me as the one who didn't need praise. Maybe that was true once, but not anymore. The next morning was the wedding. I arrived early, earlier than everyone. I brought my own plain silver cufflinks. I waited in the dressing room as the other groomsmen filed in, laughing, high-fiving, sipping bourbon. Leo walked in last, looking sharp. He barely looked at me, just clapped his best man on the back, posing for photos. At one point, Chloe came in, saw me sitting off to the side. "Oh, Ethan, could you help grab the extra chairs from the back? We need 6 more for the cocktail hour." I blinked. "I'm one of the groomsmen." She tilted her head. "Yeah, but you're not in the early photos, so it's fine, please." She walked off before I could answer. I looked at Leo. He didn't say a word. Didn't even shrug. Just kept posing. That was the moment. Not the bar stool, not the cufflinks, not even the chairs. It was the way he didn't care. Not a flicker of concern. My humiliation was routine, expected, normal. I got up, walked to the back, and grabbed those damn chairs, one by one. As I carried the last one out, sweat staining my collar, I glimpsed my mother chatting with Chloe's mom. I heard her say, "Oh, yes. Leo's always been the star of the family. Ethan's sweet, but he's more of a behind-the-scenes kind of guy." I froze. Set the chair down. Walked back into the dressing room. My heart thrummed like a war drum. Something inside me was burning now. Slow, steady. Not rage. Something older, deeper. I checked my phone. Still no message from Leo. And then, 15 minutes before the ceremony, the wedding coordinator walked in and handed Leo the final invoice for the rehearsal dinner. His eyes scanned it. Then they flicked up to me. Everything changed. He stared at the invoice like it was written in a foreign language. His eyebrows pinched. His mouth opened slightly, a faint twitch, like he might laugh it off. Nothing came out. He just looked at me, holding the paper like evidence, and said, loud enough for half the room, "Hey. Didn't you say you were covering this?" My mouth went dry. Every groomsman went quiet, except the best man, who let out an awkward chuckle. The photographer kept snapping, pretending not to notice. The stylist suddenly got very busy. I sat there, cufflinks on, tie perfectly adjusted, staring up at my brother. There it was, the moment he turned a private conversation into a public performance. One final jab to remind everyone I was the helpful one, the wallet, the assistant, not the brother, not the equal. I stood slowly, walked toward him. My legs were steady, but my hands were cold. I reached for the invoice, took it gently from his hand, and glanced at the total, $3,472.19. Tax, gratuity, and a few last-minute upgrades. I folded the paper neatly, tucked it into my inside jacket pocket, looked him in the eye, and said, "Good luck with that." Then I turned and walked out. No yelling, no scene, just calm, steady footsteps down the carpeted hallway, past the chapel, past the guests trickling in, past the floral arch that cost more than a month of my rent. I didn't realize I was holding my breath until I stepped outside into the cold air and let it go all at once. My car was 3 blocks away. I walked the whole distance without looking back. I didn't even attend the wedding. No one stopped me. No one texted. No one called. I half expected someone, my mom, my dad, even Leo, to come storming out, demanding I return, asking how I could do that on his big day. But silence followed me home. A thick, suffocating silence that settled into my living room like smoke. And then it hit me. This was it. This was the moment I finally stopped trying. It felt awful and freeing. At first, I just sat on my couch, staring at the wall. The ceremony was probably happening. I kept thinking, what now? What comes after burning the bridge you spent your whole life pretending was still worth crossing? The next day, the first text. From Chloe. Hi, Ethan. Not sure what happened yesterday, but we really need you to take care of the dinner bill. It's your responsibility. Please don't put us in a tough spot. No, are you okay? No acknowledgement. I walked out of my own brother's wedding. Just the bill. I didn't respond. A few hours later, Ethan, this is really unprofessional. Leo and I are extremely hurt. You promised you'd handle this. Then one from my mom, we need to talk. Leo is very upset. Why would you do this to him? To him. Not one message asking why I left. Just assumption and guilt, wrapped in that tone of maternal disappointment I knew too well. I turned off my phone. The silence was better. I didn't go to the brunch. I didn't check social media. I didn't reach out to anyone. I went back to work, met clients, drank coffee in peace. I finally fixed the leaky faucet and threw out the cheap cufflink box I'd been keeping for no reason. For 3 weeks, I heard nothing. And the crazy thing? Life got better. Not dramatically, just less noise, less tension. I hadn't realized how much of my brain was occupied with earning their approval until that space cleared. It was like uninstalling background software. I started sleeping better, walking more. The air felt better. I started eating like a human again. And slowly, something new bloomed in that quiet space, me. One morning, I looked around my apartment and realized I wanted more. Not more stuff, just more life. I'd spent so much time being a support beam for everyone else's success that I'd never built anything for myself. So I started. Upgraded my website, invested in new gear, reached out to potential partners. 3 new clients in a month. Hired a freelance designer. For the first time in years, I felt proud handing someone my business card. I didn't tell anyone in my family. They didn't ask, which honestly made it easier. Then one Friday night, about a month and a half later, I was at a wine bar with Rachel, a client turned friend. She asked, "You always talk about your work. What about your family?" I paused. It wasn't anger that stopped me. It was clarity. I didn't want to retell the old story. The bar stool, the invoice, the chairs, they weren't the point anymore. The point was, I wasn't living under their rules. I shrugged. It's complicated. She smiled. Aren't they all? We changed the subject. That night, I checked my phone for the first time in days. A few unread messages from Leo. The last one, 2 weeks old, so, I guess we're just not talking now. Cool. Real mature, Ethan. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. But then, 2 months after the wedding, I got a call from an unrecognized number. I let it go to voicemail. Curiosity got the better of me. It was Chloe. Her voice was tight, measured, but underneath the polite phrasing was thinly veiled panic. Hi Ethan, I'm really sorry to bother you, but we're trying to sort out some financial issues with the venue, and the dinner invoice still hasn't been resolved. It's now in collections. We thought you had taken care of it. If there's been a miscommunication, can we please clear it up? I stared at the wall, phone in hand. For the first time in a long time, I smiled. Not out of spite. Out of freedom. I wasn't their safety net anymore. I wasn't their backup plan. I wasn't their behind-the-scenes guy. I was just Ethan. And I was doing fine without them. But that's not where this ends. Just when I thought they'd finally backed off, they found a new way to drag me back in. Only this time, they made one fatal mistake. They tried to use me again. And this time, I was ready. It was early spring when the next message came. I was out of town for a long weekend, a quiet lakeside cabin rental, the kind of trip I never used to let myself take. Now, I'd learned the value of peace, solitude, unapologetic rest. The notification buzzed while I was on the porch, sipping coffee, birds trilling. I almost ignored it. But I didn't. When I opened it, I saw a name I hadn't thought about in months, my mother. "Hey, Ethan, Leo mentioned you might be free this summer. Your cousin Caleb is getting married in July and the whole family's going. Would be great to have you there. We're renting a big house together. Can you pitch in for the deposit?" I stared at the screen. Deposit? Like nothing had happened. Like I hadn't been exiled to a barstool. Like I hadn't walked out of his wedding. I didn't respond. Instead, I pulled out an old black leather notebook, the kind I used in the early days of my business, and flipped to a clean page. I wrote 3 words at the top, what they owe. Then I began to list. Not just money, mom's broken promises, dad's silence, Leo's humiliation games, the manipulation, the gaslighting, the decades of being behind the scenes. But I didn't stop there. I made a second list, what I've built. This list was longer, a thriving consulting business, a growing list of clients, my independence, my peace, my strength, my clarity, my self-worth, my control. That was the word that stuck, control. For the first time in my life, I had it. And they didn't even know it yet. That was the spark. The setup didn't come all at once. It came in layers, tiny, deliberate choices that lined up like dominoes. I didn't want some messy emotional outburst. That was Leo's territory. No, I wanted precision, timing, something that would shift the balance permanently. I started with information. Over the next few weeks, I combed through every email, invoice, and message related to the rehearsal dinner. I still had the forwarded event coordination email from Chloe's assistant, the auto-confirmation from the restaurant booking software, and even a follow-up from the manager thanking me for confirming final headcount and payment responsibility, all tied to my business account. Good. Then I contacted the restaurant directly. A friendly call. I explained I'd been listed as the payment contact but had walked out before finalizing the bill. The manager, David, remembered the night immediately. "I remember your brother," he said. "Tall, dark hair, bit loud?" "Yeah," I replied. "Right. Well, you never paid. So, the invoice got bounced to collections. Standard after 60 days. He gave me the agency's name. I thanked him. Called the agency. A few polite questions, and I found out Leo had tried to dispute the charge, claiming it wasn't his responsibility. He'd given my name as the original contact, but without a signed agreement or credit card, the agency had hit a wall. It was stalled. That gave me time and leverage. The next piece came from Marcus, a quietly brilliant cybersecurity consultant I'd worked with years ago. I messaged him one night. "Hey, man, quick question. Know anything about reputation management firms?" He sent a thinking emoji. "Depends. You looking to protect something or expose something?" "Both," I replied. That Friday, we grabbed dinner. I explained everything. Marcus listened, nodding slowly. "Classic narcissistic triangulation," he muttered. "I just want them to stop acting like I owe them something," I said. "But I want a moment. Not a meltdown, just a moment that makes them see." Marcus smirked. "You want a long fuse, not a firecracker?" Exactly. We started building something. While Marcus pulled a few strings with a contact at a data indexing firm, nothing illegal, just public records scanning, I started gathering social media screenshots. Chloe had been posting wedding photos for weeks. One in particular caught my eye, a wide shot of the rehearsal dinner table, captioned, "Couldn't have asked for a Better night with our favorite people, 2 hearts, #real family. There it was again, that phrase. She had no idea how badly those 2 words burned through every bridge they had with me. I was done being scorched. It was time to return the heat. I took a screenshot, archived the post, saved it to a cloud folder titled July. I didn't know the endgame yet, but I knew when it would happen, at Caleb's wedding. Caleb and I had never been especially close, but he was one of the few in the extended family who never made me feel like a footnote. When I got the official invite, I almost declined. Then I saw the venue, a massive historic estate with gardens and a reception hall known for its glass atrium. The kind of place with valet parking, a jazz trio, and signature cocktails. More importantly, it was exactly the kind of place my family would go all out for. I RSVP'd yes. Then I emailed the estate coordinator, Sarah, and asked a few quiet questions about seating arrangements. I framed it as a family member wanting to ensure elderly guests wouldn't be too far from exits. Sarah was helpful. I casually asked about the family house rental, too. Oh yes, she said. Your parents reserved the South Wing house. Sleeps 15, I believe. Full payment pending. I thanked her. And I smiled, because now I had a window. Over the years, my family had grown used to using my generosity as a fallback. It started small, gas money, helping with Leo's books, buying Dad a new drill. Then it grew, a few hundred for Mom's cake, a few thousand for Leo's moving expenses. The rehearsal dinner always presented like an opportunity for me to show up. But this time, I wouldn't show up as the wallet. I'd show up as the mirror. So, I waited. June came and went. 10 days before Caleb's wedding, a group email from my mom. Hi, family. Just a quick reminder, we're finalizing the shared house rental for the wedding weekend. We're splitting the cost. It comes out to $860 each for 4 nights. Please send your portion via bank transfer to me by Friday. Thank you. So excited to see everyone. I stared at it. $860. After everything. I didn't respond. 3 days later, another message. Hi, Ethan. I didn't see your transfer come through yet. Can you confirm you're still staying with us? We're trying to avoid paying extra at the last minute. Still staying with us? As if we were a we? As if there hadn't been a fracture so deep it cracked the foundation of our entire relationship. That's when I knew this wasn't just about money. It was about accountability. And they were going to learn what it felt like when the one person they thought would never hold them accountable suddenly did. It happened on a Saturday in July. Clear skies, soft breeze, the kind of wedding day people dream about. I arrived early, not to help, not to carry chairs, but to walk the grounds, take in the place, center myself. The estate was stunning. I wore a tailored charcoal gray suit and brought a guest, Rachel, a friend from work who understood the assignment. She knew the whole story, knew the names, knew exactly when to stay close, and when to step aside. We were seated in the 4th row during the ceremony, close enough to be visible, far enough to stay unnoticed for now. Leo and Chloe sat in the front, of course. Leo in his sunglasses, looking smug. Mom and Dad flanked him. They hadn't really seen me yet. When they did, they offered only the faintest wave, as if I were a distant cousin, not a son, not a brother. Typical. The ceremony passed. Caleb and his bride exchanged vows, kissed, walked off to applause. I clapped too. Quietly, genuinely. They deserved their day. But it wasn't over. The reception started with cocktail hour. Tiny hors d'oeuvres and custom drinks on the lawn. I kept my distance, nursing a whiskey and soda while Rachel chatted with a couple from out of town. I watched Leo from across the garden, watched him work the crowd, making people laugh, patting shoulders, dropping his sound bites. Marriage is a team sport, man. Oh, Chloe keeps me in line, don't worry. This suit? Custom. Got it from a guy downtown. I'll send you his number. He was in his element. But that was about to change. At 5:30 sharp, the reception doors opened. We were guided into the glass atrium. High ceilings, crystal chandeliers, light bouncing everywhere. Long banquet tables with floral runners. Personalized name cards. A printed program in every napkin fold. The house rental group, my parents, Leo, Chloe, and a collection of aunts and uncles, had their own reserved table near the center. I saw it right away. A place card with Ethan on it, seated at the end next to the emergency exit. I didn't walk toward it. Instead, I led Rachel to a different table, one closer to the front near the dance floor, with a small gold sign that said, VIP reserved. One of the waiters approached as I sat down. "Mr. Ethan," he asked, lowering his voice. I nodded. "Miss Sarah says everything is in place. Just let us know when to proceed." "Thank you," I said, offering a small smile. "Give it 10 minutes." He nodded and walked off. Rachel leaned toward me. "You ready?" I sipped my drink. "Been ready since I got the text asking for $860. The lights dimmed slightly. Music played. The MC took the mic, welcomed everyone, moving swiftly into dinner. People settled into their seats. Waiters began delivering appetizers. That's when Leo spotted me. I watched it unfold in real time. His head turned. He saw me at the VIP table. First, confusion, then recognition, then confusion again. His smile wavered. Chloe leaned over and said something. His eyes didn't leave mine. I raised my glass, tapped it once, and looked away. Now, for context, here's what they didn't know. About 3 weeks before the wedding, after confirming with Sarah that my parents' group reservation was still pending payment, I made my move. I reserved the South Wing house, paid in full under my business name, quietly, privately. It wasn't hard. The estate had no idea I was related to the people previously listed. I used a corporate booking request and arranged for 6 custom key cards. When Sarah asked about guest names, I told her we'd finalize them closer to the date. I asked if I could designate someone to manage check-in on my behalf since I might be traveling internationally. She said, of course. I gave her Marcus's name. Then I waited. 1 week before the wedding, my mother sent another group message. "Hey, all, Ethan's been quiet. Just confirming you're still good for the house. If not, we'll need to find another person to cover your share." I replied, "Already taken care of." She responded with a heart emoji. That was all she wrote. So, imagine her surprise when she and the rest of the house group arrived at the estate the day before the wedding, tired and sweaty, only to be told by Sarah that the South Wing had already been checked into under a different name and their reservation had been cancelled due to non-payment. They had no rooms, no backup plan, and it was high season. I hadn't been there to see it, but Marcus told me everything. The sputtering, the calls, the flailing attempts to find a last-minute rental. The moment Chloe realized she'd have to split a room with my mother, and Leo would be sleeping on a pull-out sofa in the bridal suite with Chloe's sister and her newborn. Delicious. And now, sitting at that table, they were trying to figure out how I had ended up at the VIP table, sipping aged whiskey, perfectly composed. But I wasn't done. 10 minutes later, after appetizers were cleared and people were loosening their ties, the MC tapped the mic again. "Before we move on to toasts, we have a quick housekeeping announcement," he said. "One of our guests, Mr. Ethan Winters, has generously covered tonight's bar tab in honor of the newlyweds." A murmur spread through the room. I stood up slowly, took the mic with a smile, and spoke calmly. "Just wanted to say congratulations to Caleb and Elise. You two deserve the best. No one else could have pulled off a day this beautiful. And I figured, why not let everyone toast properly?" Laughter. Cheers. Applause. I handed the mic back, sat down. Across the room, Leo's face was stone. Chloe looked like she'd bitten into a lemon. But I wasn't smiling for them. I was smiling for me. Because for the first time in my life, I wasn't proving anything. I wasn't trying to be included. I wasn't showing up to be recognized. I was showing up because I wanted to, and because I could. I didn't need a name card. I didn't need their seat at the table. I'd built my own. After the reception, Leo finally approached me. He waited until most guests were outside lining up for sparklers. His voice was low, clipped. You really couldn't just let it go, huh? I sipped the last of my drink. Let what go? You know what? I leaned in slightly. You mean the Barstool? The unpaid dinner? The voicemail from Chloe? Or maybe the part where Mom called me behind the scenes like I'm a stagehand in my own life? He swallowed. It wasn't meant like that. I nodded. Doesn't matter. I'm done being your footnote. He looked away, jaw tight. So, this was revenge. No, I said, standing up. This was a reminder of what? I smiled. That I'm not the one who needs me anymore. And I left. Didn't wait for a response. Didn't look back. Rachel was already by the door, holding my jacket. We walked out under the stars, past sparklers and laughter, past people who didn't know the history, didn't know what had been built or burned or buried. And for the first time in my life, I didn't care. I didn't need their apology. I didn't need closure. Because I had something better. I had peace. And I had the final word. What would you have done if you were in my shoes?